Hi there, it's Bilal from itvarsity.org. Now, for those of you that are following these videos of mine as a series, I hope that you are winning and you are succeeding. If you have any challenges at all, you can head off to the IT Varsity website where we have a forum where you can ask your questions. For those of you that are just getting into what functions are all about in PHP, who are just looking at this video, you're going to find this useful also, because here I cover, between this and the next video, I cover very much in detail what functions are and how to use them in PHP. So without any delays, let's get down to it.
In this lesson, we're going to learn about PHP functions. Now, the real power of any programming language comes from its functions. What exactly are functions? Now, functions are just sections of code that you give a name to and you call whenever you need that code. Now, for example, if there's a certain bit of code that you know is getting called repeatedly calling that code, you're repeatedly running the exact same code because its functionality is required in a number of different places. In that scenario, it doesn't make any sense to keep repeating the actual code in all those different places. The best thing to do is simply to wrap your code up into a function, give it a name, and then call it by its name whenever you need to. Now we're going to look at a couple of examples here. Simple examples, but examples that will give you a much better understanding of how functions work. Now back in NetBeans, let's create a new file. We go to the NetBeans menu, click on the file menu, click on new file. Yes, PHP file. Next, we'll call this one functions and finish. As usual, put in our close PHP tag and let the fun begin. Now, let's imagine a scenario. And the scenario is that you are building a video game and at the end of each stage, you need to output a congratulatory message to the user for completing the stage. So you'd say something like this. Congratulations, you've just finished the stage. All right, and we'll put in a line break, semicolon, and then we put in a second line and some encouragement. And let's put in another line break. So keep going, ... followed by a line break. All right, this is very simple text output. Now let's run this in our browser. Back in the browser, remember to navigate to functions.php. And there's our output right there. Okay, let's make it a little more interesting by putting heading tags. Make that guy an H1 and that guy an H2. All right, save this guy, refresh. All right, so you've got your congratulatory message. Now the trouble with this code, although it's just 2 lines, is that whenever the user finishes a stage, you're going to need to put in these 2 lines of code. And if you decide at some stage to change this message, to tweak it slightly, what you're going to need to do is every single stage where you put in the code, you're going to need to go and change. And let's say your game has 50 stages or 100 stages. That means you're going to need to go and change it in 100 different places. Okay? But if you wrap this up into a function and we call this function display win message. Now what this will do is you'll simply have to call display win message. Let's cut this code, select it, cut it, and paste it inside there. Indent that. There we go. Now what's happening here is you've wrapped up your code into a function, and now whenever you need this code, you simply call that function. And every stage that needs to output this will call this exact same function. So hence, if you need to go and make a change inside your text, you simply go and change it in one place, which is in the function. And then whenever any stage calls this function, it will display the changed version of the text that you have inside there. Now, as it stands, this code is not going to run because one of the conditions for a function running is that you must call it. So let's call this function down here. Display win message. You can see that NetBeans is giving me a suggestion. So I'm just going to hit enter instead of typing the full name to accept NetBeans' suggestion. And now you can see I'm calling this function. Let's save our work and get back to the browser. Guess what? Nothing happens. The reason nothing happens is because this code is achieving the exact same thing as our previous code. But let's make it fun. So we can call this code as many times as we want. There we go. So you can just keep calling it over and over and over again. Now this definitely beats going and copying and pasting this code multiple times, because if we need to make a change to this text, we change it now in just one place, right? Let's say we wanted to add "You are awesome" in there. Now we changed it in one place and we refresh, and what happens? It changes everywhere. So you could have this literally hundreds or thousands of times in your application, but it'll change all. You don't need to go and change it anywhere else. That's one of the benefits of functions. Okay, so in this lesson you learned about very basic functions, and that's a wrap for this lesson.